This program is sponsored by Zad Group.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode from Ask Huda, broadcasting to you live from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And before we receive your first calls, Hakim sent an email. He's a 13-year-old young man, and his father passed away a couple of days ago. I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that He grants his father mercy and forgiveness. He says he doesn't know what to do because he has constant thoughts about death and where his father is. He has been very confused, and his mother has been telling him to stop thinking about death as he's young and should focus on his prayer and studies. Your mother's advice is partially correct. See, thinking about death can be positive, but it also can be negative. And in your case, at the moment, it is apparently negative. When it makes you depressed, when it makes you confused, when it stops you from being proactive, then in this case, it is negative. It is dragging you down, and you should think positive. Now, you should think positively of the things around you, about death in particular. How does death become positive? When you understand and believe that this is a transitional period in our lives, and we're not here to stay. We're only here for a short period of time, and then it is eternity. So you utilize the time you have on earth in being positive, in being productive, in fulfilling what Allah Azza wa Jal instructed you to do, in refraining from what is haram and bad for you, by being a good citizen, a good Muslim, someone who is helpful to all. This, with the grace of Allah, makes you think positive in all aspects. And what drives you to do this? Thinking about death positively. Because whenever you think about death positively, you start to work harder, and you start to avoid what may anger Allah Azza wa Jal of you, and what may add to your bad sins. So don't worry about your father. Allah is the most merciful, and He will take care of him. Worry about your own self, about your studies, how to perfect your prayers, how to perfect your studies, how to please your mother, how to be someone who is positive in the community and radiating positivity. And this is one of the features of a successful leader. So you try your level best, and insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah would reward you for that. Abu Bassam from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Salamullah wa barakatuh.
Actually, Sheikh, I have a couple of questions. You know, actually, you are residing in Saudi Arabia, you are from Saudi Arabia, you know how my banks are working, what is the system of banks over here. I just want to know if there is any bank over here who uses the Sharia way of giving the loan and all that. I don't know, I'm not sure about this thing, because I wanted to take some loan, I was in the need of the same.
Okay.
I would like to know that. Second question is that we are going to shopping malls these days, and we are buying some chicken which has been sacrificed already, and there is a lot of blood over there in them. I'm not sure. While cooking, we are getting blood. I mean, when we start frying them and all that, blood is extracting from these chickens. I don't know. I'm not sure about the way they are being sacrificed and all that.
I will answer your questions, inshallah.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Assalamu
alaikum. Abu Bassam says that being in Saudi Arabia, what are the Islamic banks around that give loans? First of all, anyone telling you that Islamic banks give loans, this is not true. Because the definition of a loan is something that you borrow and you return as it is. If you add something to it, it becomes interest. It becomes riba. So Islamic banks don't give loans. On the contrary, they sell you a commodity. And they sell you a commodity and you may do whatever you wish with that commodity. So they sell me a car, for example. And the car costs 300,000 riyals, cash. But they sell it to me in installments for 400,000 riyals. So 100,000 extra. This is not a loan. They're selling me a commodity. They sell it to me for 1 riyal or for 1,000,000 riyal. It's up to them. If I agree to pay, it's okay. This is transactions. This is commerce. Now, I take the commodity and I sell it elsewhere for a cheaper price. And people, because of this transaction, they think that this is a loan. This is not a loan. And the Sharia-compliant banks, to my knowledge, are Rajhi Bank, Bilad Bank, Inma Bank, and Al Jazeera Bank. These 4 banks have a good Sharia board that governs their transactions, to the best of my knowledge. Other banks who claim to have Sharia division, most of their transactions are bypassing riba through camouflaging it. They don't have a Sharia board. They just get a fatwa and they don't implement it, and they have a lot of problems in them. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Imam from Gambia? Okay, I think we lost Imam. Second question of Abu Bassam says that whenever we buy chicken that is imported and we cook it, we see traces of blood. So we're suspicious. There's no need to be suspicious, akhi. The blood that remains in the veins of a slaughtered animal or a bird, this is permissible, this is halal. What is najis and what is not halal is the blood that gushes after the slaughtering. So the blood that comes out, this is najis. 1 drop of it, you have to wash it and you cannot pray in it. But what remains in the veins of a big piece of steak, for example, or a chicken that is slaughtered properly and Islamically, and you're cooking it or washing it and there are traces of blood, this is halal and permissible, inshaAllah. Abdullah says, I'm working on topic of cancer. Can you put some light on mixing camel milk with urine of it and drinking? Please, Shaykh, make dua for my mother's health. May Allah Azza wa Jal restore your mother's health to better than what she was before. And the cure for cancer is in the hands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah did not create an illness without creating a cure to it. Whoever knows it would, and whoever is ignorant would not, as the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam. And the medication or the healing process through drinking the milk and the urine of camels is authentic in the Sahih. It's in Al-Bukhari, the hadith of Al-Uraniyin, who came to Medina, embraced Islam, got sick. The Prophet ordered them to go out and live with the herd of sadaqah camels, and to drink, he specified, to drink from its milk and urine. And after a few days, they got healthy, alhamdulillah, but then they killed the shepherd and they did heinous things to the rest of the hadith, etc. So the process is Islamic without any doubt. Now, maybe doctors would come and object. Maybe people without proper Islamic knowledge would say, ugh, what is this? No, this is gross, this is disgusting. Whatever you want to say it. But if you have cancer and you're taking different levels of chemotherapy and you're unable to digest anything and you vomit all the time and your hair is falling and you're bald and you are unable to even get up from your bed and you need someone to help you every step of the way, and you know that you're dying, then your only chance is to turn to Allah Azza wa Jal and to seek Islamic healing, Islamic form of medication. And this is one of them. I know a personal friend of mine who is a teacher, chemistry teacher. We taught together in high school, and I met him a few months back, and he told me that they have taken a part of his intestines because he had cancer spreading all over. And the doctors told him that you have few months left. And then he dropped the chemotherapy and he went to drink dosages of urine and milk mixed together of camels. And in 5 months' time, with the grace of Allah, it all disappeared. And I asked him, how was the taste? He said, in the very first 2 days, it was not that good. But until today, he says, I'm drinking it every single morning and I have no problem with that. So if you bring a small cap and you fill it with camel urine and mix it with a glass of milk and you drink it with the grace of Allah, this is a form of healing. Now you need physicians to prove this. And I heard that there are a lot of research on this subject. A well-known doctor here has immense and huge, she's a professor, and she's in King Abdulaziz University. She has huge researches on the validity and the benefits of using such medication in treating cancer. You can refer to that, inshallah. Nasser says, why is it that a child who's born out of wedlock does not have any rights over his biological father? He doesn't inherit from him, nor he carries his name. Why is that? The child has to pay the price of a sin his biological parents committed. First of all, this life is a test. Allah did not create us in this world to live and enjoy life as if we're not going to die. It's a transitional period. The max you live is, let's say, 70 years. Average is 60 to 70. Very rare who pass this limit. However, Allah is testing people differently. Allah tests people with billions and billions of dollars and euros. Multi-billionaires. Filthy rich. And a lot of them have failed the test. Allah tests others with calamities, with earthquakes, with volcanoes, with poverty, with illness. And Allah tests this child who was born out of wedlock of his situation. But alhamdulillah, he's healthy, he is capable of learning, he is an individual that people respect. Other than the issue that he's born out of wedlock. It's a test from Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a punishment for the biological parents for the sin that they have done. But the child should grow up knowing that Allah Azza wa Jal does not hate him. Allah Azza wa Jal does choose all the best for him. And this is part of what Allah has chosen for him, and he should be satisfied with that and live with it. Because complaining, objecting, and all the other things would not change the fact that he was born out of wedlock and he has to live with it. It's not his problem, it's not his sin, it's not his fault. And as long as he's tolerant and patient, Allah would reward him for that greatly, inshallah. Asif says, if someone has a loan more than the zakat amount, does he still have to pay zakat? This is an issue that a lot of the people ask. And they think that it is something that you have to sort of cook the books so that you can evade and skip zakat. And this is not the case. If you have a loan of 100,000 riyals that you should pay, and in your bank account there is 50,000 riyals that the whole year passed over, you cannot say, oh, okay, 50,000, 100,000, which means that my balance is minus 50,000 riyals, so I don't have to pay zakat. No, this is not correct. As long as the amount of money you have in your bank account or in your possession exceeded the threshold, the nisab, and a whole year, lunar year, passed over that in your possession, you have to give zakat. Now, before a year is complete, you have a choice. Either pay the whole 50,000 to pay off part of your loan, and in this case, you don't have money in your bank account and you don't have to give zakat. Or you allow the year to finish and then you have to pay 2.5% over that. We have Mustafa from Saudi.
Hello, Sheikh. Salam alaikum.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, the question is a little personal. Women normally have a kind of physiological discharge during the day. Does one wudu made in the morning hold good for the whole day if there is any this kind of, or does she need to make wudu for every prayer?
Okay.
With this. Thank you, Sheikh.
Any more questions?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Mustafa's question is quite frequent, and a lot of the sisters ask about it. And they say that regarding the issue of vaginal discharge. Now, women have this, the majority of them have this, and it's a natural thing. So scholars differed. Does it take the same ruling as urine and whatever comes out of the private parts? Because the norm is anything that comes out from the private parts is najis, is impure, with the exception of semen. This is pure, but it also requires mandatory ghusl, the major ritual purity. So they differed, and the most authentic opinion is that these discharges are considered to be as sweating. And this is the opinion of Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen and some other scholars. And they say that it is pure in nature. And they differed greatly whether it requires wudu or not. The last reported from Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, some say, that he said that they do not nullify wudu. But the majority of scholars say that it does nullify wudu. So just to be on the safe side, you have to perform wudu for every prayer, meaning that if you pray dhuhr, after the adhan, perform your wudu, and you may pray, read Quran, make tawaf, do whatever you wish until the adhan of Asr. When the adhan of Asr is called, then you have to make another wudu. Other than that, inshallah, it is okay. We have Ja'far from Gambia. Ja'far.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, akhi.
I'm calling from Nigeria, not from Gambia.
Gambia or from Nigeria?
From Nigeria.
Ah, okay. What can I do for you, akhi?
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, what's your question, akhi?
Sir, I want to ask whether it's permissible for somebody to collect loan from somebody to perform Hajj.
It is permissible to do what?
Is it permissible for from somebody to perform Hajj?
On behalf of someone else?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will answer your question.
Then the second question, sir.
Yes.
Is it permissible for somebody to perform Hajj for his mother when she is alive?
Okay.
These are the two questions, sir.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Brother Ja'far from Nigeria, he's asking about performing Hajj on behalf of someone else. This is permissible, providing that the person performing the Hajj has performed his fard Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ once heard a man saying, لَبَّيْكَ اللَّهُمَّ حَجًّا عَنْ شُبْرُمَةٍ. So the Prophet said, who is Shubruma? He said, a brother of mine. So the Prophet said, did you perform Hajj for yourself initially, the once in a lifetime Hajj? And the man said, no. The Prophet said, no. Perform Hajj on your behalf first, and then the following year or following coming years, you may perform Hajj on behalf of Shubruma. So this means that you cannot deputize someone who did not offer Hajj for himself in the first place. As for performing Hajj for your mother who's alive, scholars have differed. Some say that if she has performed her Hajj, which is fard, then you cannot perform Hajj for her that is voluntary. But if she did not perform Hajj for herself, the fard Hajj, and she is unable and would not be able in the future to perform Hajj for herself, as in the case of the woman, Al-Khathamiyya, who said that, "O Prophet of Allah, my father cannot stay on a ride. He would fall off the horse or the camel. So can I, because he's too old, can I perform Hajj on his behalf?" The Prophet said, "Yes, you can." So it is permissible if she is unable to perform Hajj and she did not perform her Hajj of Faridah, then you can do that without any problem. Afia from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Samtullah.
I have a question, Sheikh.
Yes.
What is the difference between the Fard prayer and the Sunnat prayer? As we recite in Fard, 2 surahs, in 2 rakat, surah we recite. In Sunnat, we should recite 2 surahs or all the 4 rakats, 4 surahs?
Okay. I will answer you, inshallah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome. So, Afia's question is, before we take Afia's question, Muhammad says, you know there is a hadith about there being no such thing as infectious disease. Does this mean that the diseases cannot spread, or does it mean that no diseases can spread except by Allah's will? I'm worried because I don't want to believe that a virus can spread to people if it is rejecting the hadith. No, there is no rejection of the hadith. You have to look into the full picture to understand. The Prophet says, "La adwa," and this means that there is no infection by itself. A disease is not contagious by itself. However, there are other hadiths where the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, run away from someone with leprosy as if you're running away from a lion. And he said in another hadith that a sick camel must not be allowed to mix with healthy camels. So this proves that taking the reasons, the necessary measures to prevent such illness from spreading is part of the sunnah. So how do we understand the hadith of saying la adwa, that there is no illness or disease being contagious? It means that it is not being contagious by itself. The virus itself is not contagious by itself. It is a cause of illness, but it is not by itself doing that. It is the will of Allah that does this. And this is why when the Prophet said this hadith, a man said, "O Prophet of Allah, when we allow a camel with leprosy to come into the herd of camels I have, we find that it is contagious." The Prophet asked him a simple question: who made the first camel sick and ill with that illness? It did not catch it from anyone. It all of a sudden happened. So this is what the Prophet is referring to. In so many households, we find people fall sick while others don't. So why did it work with some and some were saved from it? It's the will of Allah Azza wa Jal. However, we have to take the necessary means of protection and stay away. And if the illness takes place, we do not say, "It is he who made me fall sick." No. This is the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you would have fallen sick even if you did not mix with that person. But Allah is ordering you to take the necessary measures and staying away from whatever causes such illness. Muhammad from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Samtullah barakatuh.
So I have a question. When my mom, when she was early 30s, she missed fasting during the Ramadan because she was pregnant, post-pregnancy. So now she is old and she's not in a situation to, she can fast, but the thing is, she missed like 90 days for three, she was pregnant for all her sons. So now what is the option? Does she need to cover and fast all the days she missed, or is there any other option too? Where, like, I heard that feeding a poor is also an option.
Okay.
So could you please clarify, Sheikh, if you don't mind?
I will, inshallah.
All right, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Afia is saying, what is the difference between praying fard prayer and sunnah prayer? Because she knows that reciting the surah after the Fatiha in the first 2 rak'ahs of the fard is there, but do we have to do it in the sunnah? This is something that a lot of the Muslims are confused about. There are pillars in salah, there are mandatory, obligatory acts in salah, and there are sunnah acts in salah. So the obligatory and mandatory parts of salah, if you miss it out of forgetfulness or ignorance, you prostrate for that to prostration of sahu. The pillars, if you neglect it or forget it or you deliberately do it or unintentionally, as long as you miss the pillar, your whole prayer is invalid. Now, the voluntary or the sunnah actions, you don't have to do anything, whether you leave it deliberately or unintentionally, such as the surah after the Fatiha. So the surah that we recite, whether in fard or in sunnah prayer, after the Fatiha, is recommended, but it is not mandatory. So if I deliberately in Isha recite only the Fatiha and go to ruku', my prayer is valid, but I have missed a great reward because of missing this sunnah. The difference between fard and sunnah prayer, there are lots of differences. You cannot pray, you cannot break al-fard whenever you want, while sunnah you can break it whenever you want. There are you cannot pray fard except to the direction of the qibla with the pillars mentioned, while sunnah prayer you can, if you're traveling, you can pray it on your right and even not to the direction of the qibla. Fard you have to pray it standing up, sunnah you can pray it sitting down, but you'll get half of the reward, etc. We have Fatiha from Ethiopia.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamullah.
Yeah, I have question in my father passed away.
Okay.
And my mom she's old, like 85 years old. But she has to sit like 4 months in 10 days.
Yes.
In that question, they told her back home, you don't have to put lotion and oil in her body. That is what she was doing.
I did not get the last part of your question. She's 85 years old.
Yeah. But she has to wait like 4 months in 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah, Idda. But my culture, or I don't know by deen, they told her don't put lotion in her body.
Okay.
And oil on her hair too.
Okay.
That is why, please, can you tell me? Yeah.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Muhammad from Saudi Arabia, his mother did not fast for months due to pregnancy, delivery, postnatal bleeding, and breastfeeding. So she is quite old now. And he says that she has like 3 years missed, 90 days maybe or something like that. What's the solution? If she's able to fast, then she has to make up for these days. And she doesn't have to make them all in a row. She can fast every Monday and Thursday. And the following week, Monday and Thursday. And by this, inshallah, every month she would be able to finish 8 days. If she is able more to add more, she can fast also the 13th, 14th, 15th of every lunar month. And this is up to her best of ability. If she can do that, alhamdulillah. If she is totally weak and fragile, if she is so old that she is unable to stay away from food and drink for more than 4 or 5 hours, and Allah has exempted her from fasting, she may feed a poor person for every day missed, and for the coming Ramadan as well, after Ramadan finishes. But if she's able to fast, in this case, she has to do that. Aisha from Gambia.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Samtullah.
I have 3 questions. One question is, what is the minimum number of surahs that one should read before making ruku in salah?
What's the minimum rak'ah of what?
What is the minimum?
Yes.
The minimum ayat
Okay.
that one should read before making ruku in salah.
Okay.
Okay, question number 2 is, I live by a mosque, but my compound is located ahead of the mosque. So normally in Ramadan, last 10 days of the Ramadan, I do prefer to join the mosque, but I can't go to the mosque because I have my children with me at the house. So I just use my backyard, which is front of the mosque, to join the mosque to pray tahajjud. But normally my husband will tell me that this is not correct because you are always ahead of the imam, and people need to be behind the imam to pray. So I just want you to elaborate on that, whether I'm doing the wrong thing or because I've been doing it for years. The third question is, no, you've answered that last week before last. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're quite welcome. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. I'm going to give you a little something of how the Prophet ﷺ invoked his Lord. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ invoked his Lord frequently, especially during the hardship times. During the Battle of Badr, the Prophet ﷺ supplicated extensively, hoping for Allah to grant him and his companions victory. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu said, on the day of the Battle of Badr, Allah's Prophet ﷺ faced the direction of the Qibla, the sacred mosque in Mecca, extended his arms and invoked, O Allah, fulfill what you have promised me. O Allah, bring out which you have promised me. O Allah, if this group of Muslims were to die, then you will not be worshipped on this earth. He ﷺ continued to invoke while raising his hands high until his upper garment fell off his shoulder. Then Abu Bakr radiallahu anh picked up his garment and set it on the shoulders of the Prophet ﷺ. He hugged the Prophet of Allah ﷺ from behind and said, O Prophet of Allah, enough invocation. Your Lord will surely fulfill his promise to you.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. Fathiyya from Ethiopia, her mother is in the iddah, which is the waiting period after the husband has died. It is, generally speaking, if she's not pregnant, 4 months and 10 days. So someone told her that she should not apply lotion on her body or on her hair. So what is the ruling on that? Part of iddah, or what is known as al-ihdad, part of mourning of a widow over her husband, is that she must not leave the house unless it is a necessity or an emergency. She must not wear any sort of perfume or adorn herself, because this defies the mourning purposes. So she's not allowed to wear a soiree, for example, something that, a nice dress that is for attending weddings or something, even if she's in her house. She should not beautify herself wearing makeup or putting on perfume. But if the lotions she's applying are for medical reasons, then there is no problem in that. If they are just for simply softening the skin and beautification, then this is not permissible. May Allah make it easy for your mother. Aliya from Saudi.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Samtullah.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yes.
Sadaqah amount can be given to madrasa and masjid. I want to ask. And one more, sadaqah amount can be given to Hindus, because in my parents' house, the Hindu lady, she works. So my parents want to give the sadaqah amount to her, so they can give. And my second question is, son can give zakat to a mother? Okay, mother can give zakat to son.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah.
Okay, jazakallah.
Wa jazak. What is this? Arifa says that my son, who is 14 years old, and daughter, who's 16 years old, want to go for Umrah in a bus from Dhahran, which is about 1,500 kilometers away from Mecca. Can they go? Is my son old enough to be my daughter's mahram? Actually, when I read this question, I said, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless this family. May Allah bless the son and the daughter who are keen on going such a long journey to make Umrah on their own. This is something that makes a person's heart happy. As for your son, the age is not the only determining factor. If your son has reached the age of puberty, and this is known with one of three signs. One, attaining the age of 15. And that is in the lunar calendar, not in the Gregorian calendar. So if he finishes 15, then he has reached the age of puberty. Or by nocturnal emission. So if he is now a man and he wets his bed, in the sense he has nocturnal emission and he ejaculates, then this is a sign of reaching the age of puberty. And the third sign, the scholars say, is growing the harsh, tough hair over the pubic area. If he reached any of these three signs, then he is a man and he can travel with your daughter as a mahram. Aisha from Gambia says, what is the least amount of or number of verses of the Quran that we can recite after the Fatiha in Salat? There is no minimum, meaning that I've just answered this and said, even if you don't recite anything, then your prayer is still valid. However, it is required, or it is highly recommended, that you recite even as little as one ayah. So if you recite Ayat al-Kursi, which is one ayah, this is more than sufficient, inshaAllah. She says that she lives near a masjid. If I understood her question correctly, she lives in front of a masjid. So in Taraweeh and night prayer, in Tahajjud, in Ramadan, she'd like to pray with them. But because she lives in the front of the Qibla, someone told her that she cannot be in front of the Imam. And this is correct, first of all. But even if she was living behind the Qibla, behind the masjid, so the congregation is in front of her and they are praying to Mecca, this is not permissible for her to join the congregation. Because Salatul Jama'ah, it means that it is a congregation. You have to be with them in the masjid. And likewise in Haram area, for example. In Mecca, we see a lot of high-risers and a lot of buildings surrounding the Kaaba. And we see that each building has its own musalla or prayer hall overlooking the Kaaba. So people pay a lot of money, they go there and they pray night prayer, and they pray the fard prayer from these prayer halls. And they justify this by saying that we can see the Kaaba and we are considered to be with them. And I would usually argue and say, okay, what about the people in the rooms? Every one or two person can also pray in the 40th floor with his wife in congregation with the masjid following the imam. Would it be acceptable? The answer is no. Only if the whole masjid is full and the outer area is also full to the extent that there's no place inside, in this case, because the rows are connected, it is permissible for them to pray in such prayer halls. This is imaginable in Hajj, in Ramadan, Taraweeh prayers, etc. But in normal prayers, no. The answer is this is not permissible. Aliya from Saudi Arabia says that, can we give sadaqah to a madrasa or to a masjid? The answer is yes. We have two things. We have zakat and we have sadaqah. Zakat is an obligation. It is a fard. It is one of the pillars of Islam. And Allah mentioned in chapter 9, verse 60, that there are 8 categories only susceptible, and we can give them zakat money. And the masjid and the madrasa are none of those. So this is not permissible to give them zakat. But to give them general charity, the answer is, this is one of the greatest deeds that a person can do, giving them sadaqah. Now, for us to give non-Muslims sadaqah, is it permissible? This is permissible. There's no problem in that. The Prophet told us ﷺ that Allah has forgiven a prostitute all of her sins because she went down a well and she filled her shoe with water and came up and gave that water to a thirsty dog. So Allah has forgiven her sins for that. And when the companions were shocked and they wondered and astonished of this. The Prophet told them ﷺ, that in every moist liver, meaning a living creature, there is sadaqah, there is charity. So yes, we can give to the non-Muslims charity, and there is no problem in that. However, if there is a Muslim and a non-Muslim, always the preference should be to the Muslims. So if we have needy Muslims, you must not give to the non-Muslims when your brothers and sisters are more in need. But if you have access money, or they are not that in great need, and you would think that this non-Muslim, if I give him charity, would maybe think positive of Islam and maybe think of reverting to Islam, this is again one of the greatest deeds. Alia's last question was, what's the ruling on a person giving his parents zakat money, or the other way around? What's the ruling on parents giving their children zakat money? Now, this is not permissible, because as an individual, it is my obligation to provide for my parents and to provide for my children. So if one of my children is poor or needy, and he can take zakat, he's eligible for zakat, it is my obligation to get him out of his situation by giving him money, not from my zakat. I have to give him what he needs or what she needs. Likewise, if my father is in need, he's poor, and I have money, I cannot give him my zakat. I must provide for him. This is an obligation, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Abdullah from Oman.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yes.
One is, Sheikh, I would like to know whether this Sunnah prayers, Sunnatul Muakkida, that are highly recommended Sunnah prayers, can I offer them as light prayers so that I can save my time during my duty hours?
Okay.
My second question is, Sheikh, like we are in health profession and we are offered some incentives for selling health products. For example, you can say there are medicines like herbal and all these medicines. So in this thing, is it okay to take incentives, Sheikh? Because our employer himself is giving the incentives. It is not the other companies or outside people they are giving. The employer himself, he gives the incentives for his products.
Who's giving you the incentives? The pharmaceutical companies?
No, the employer.
Yani the hospital itself?
Not the hospital. It's a private business establishment.
Okay.
For example, our own boss, he provides incentives for the particular products.
So your company is marketing a particular product?
No, it's about selling. I do not want to disclose more. It is like, for example, you take it as herbal products or whatever health products.
Okay.
We are selling to the customers.
So who are you giving this incentive?
We are not giving. Our boss gives us the incentive for selling those products.
So it's a commission?
You can take it as a commission, something like this, yeah. There are some products which are good. If you sell, it's okay. There are certain products which we do not know whether they are really equivalent to those high standard products, and whether we can take a commission on those products. There are some good products which have high quality, which we know. Is it okay to take incentives on those products, or is there any restriction in this case here?
Okay, I will try to answer your question if I understood it well, inshallah. Abdullah from Oman says, what's the ruling on delaying the sunnah of Dhuhr, for example, the 4 before, the 2 after, the sunnah of Maghrib, the 2 after, the sunnah of Isha, the 2 after? What's the ruling on combining all of these and praying them at the end of the night with night prayer? Because I'd like to utilize my time during daytime and during working hours. The answer is, this is not permissible. Yani delaying it this much for a reason that is not justifiable is not permissible. Because Allah had made time for prayers. And this is 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after. If for one reason or the other that is justifiable, you may pray the 4 after, before, you may pray them after as well. So you pray 6 altogether. But just to delay all of them at the very end, this is not permissible. Naka from Sudan. Mute your television and listen to me from the phone, please.
Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Salamullah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. My question is it allowed to fast on Friday and Saturday? Because I have listened to that it's not allowed to fast on this day.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Any more questions?
No, another question.
طيب. Abdullah from Oman says that he works for a company, and if I understand his question correctly, the boss gives them a commission or a bonus if they sell and they achieve their target. But some of the products that they're selling is not as good. So he's saying that, is this permissible for him to do that or not? The answer is yes, as long as it is not harmful and you're not lying or cheating and you're simply marketing this herbal medication or selling it to people, and it's good, or it's not that good but it's not harmful, it's not cheating or lying, I see no reason for not taking that, if this is your question. But if you're taking a commission or a bribe for doing your job, no, this is a bribe, haram. If I'm working in a department and someone comes to me and say, sell this more and I'll give you an extra, though I'm getting my salary from my boss, but this person, like many pharmaceutical companies do with doctors, medical doctors, they tell them to market their products and they'll send them 3 days to Sharm el-Sheikh or to Dubai to attend a bogus seminar or a conference with the wife included, with maybe an iPhone 6, a gift, etc. This is a bribe. If they were engineers or if they were a janitor in the hospital, nobody would even look at them. But they're giving them this money because of their position. Sana from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
Sir, so this is in reference to your previous question. Due to the ongoing expansion work in the Holy Haram, the security has placed a lot of barricades, due to which we are unable to reach the masjid for Jummah prayer, and so we are forced to pray on the roads and in the shades of the hotels. So does this congregational prayer hold valid?
Okay. I will answer inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. Naka from Sudan says, what's the ruling on fasting Friday and Saturday? The prohibition is to isolate Friday on its own. The Prophet ﷺ went into his house and found his wife fasting on a Friday. So he said, did you fast yesterday, which is a Thursday? She said, no. He said, do you intend to fast tomorrow, which is a Saturday? She said, no. The Prophet said, break your fasting. And this means that isolating Friday without a legitimate cause, just general fasting, this is not permissible and it's a sin. Likewise with Saturday. You cannot isolate Saturday with fasting without a legitimate reason. However, if you fast both days, Friday and Saturday, together, this is permissible and legit. We have Imam from Gambia.
Assalamu alaikum, ya Sheikh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
This is Imam Sheikh Tijan Cham from Gambia.
What can I do for you, Akhi?
So now what is the right time to give out zakah?
Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, the second question is that, yes, we like you, we like the program, and we invite you to visit Gambia.
Inshallah, it would be a pleasure, Akhi, to come there.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair. Sana from Saudi Arabia, she said that due to security reasons, on Friday they put barricades and we cannot enter the masjid. This is not for you only, it's even for us. On Friday, it's Hajj. The full house is complete. MashaAllah. Yani the masjid is fully loaded. So they have to put these barricades so that people would not step on each other and kill each other. So praying in the shades or at the doorsteps of the hotels, this is part of the congregation and you get the full reward because all the rows are connected. So you and those inside have the same reward, insha'Allah. Of course, they have more reward because they went earlier and they're closer to the Imam, but meaning the congregation is accepted. Nazia from the Emirates.
Hello.
Salamullah.
I have a question for my friend. I think, 3-4 sisters, and they don't have a brother. So she actually wanted to know, now she's obviously married with children, but who has the right to take care of their parents? Is it, because obviously usually it's the son who would look after them in their old age, but because there's 4 sisters, does it become the duty of the son-in-laws and the daughters? She's confused. How does she carry on serving her in-laws?
Okay, any more questions?
Just that.
Okay. Imam from Gambia says, what is the suitable time for zakat? The zakat is due with 2 conditions. One, once it reaches the nisab, the threshold, which is 595 grams of silver or more. This is when you come to compare money to the threshold of zakat. And 85 grams of pure 24 karat gold if it's jewelry, if it's gold. So now we have this first condition. The second condition, that this amount remains with you for a whole lunar year, for a whole Hijri year. After completing a full year, then you have to give 2.5% of that. Abdurrahman from Saudi. Abdurrahman.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Salamullah.
Sheikh, my mother-in-law, she's alone. She is saying that she's having a lot of gold, so she want to give zakat to her son. So can she give that zakat to her son?
Okay, I will answer your question.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Jazak. Nazia from the Emirates, she says that 4 sisters who don't have a brother, who is obliged to take care of their parents? Is the son-in-law obliged? So is her husband obliged? The answer is no. The husband is not obliged to take care of his in-laws. It's not his obligation nor duty. If he wants to do this out of his own good character, mashallah, Allah will reward him, and his wife definitely would kiss his feet and be grateful for him. But if he doesn't, this is not his obligation. It is the obligation of the 4 sisters, that is the 4 daughters, and each has to give and provide for the welfare of their parents, because this is their obligation. And if there is no way to take care of them except by leaving the husband and divorcing him and going to take care of them if they are desperately in need of care, and there's no one at all to take care of them, and if they can't pay money to get someone to take care of them, this is an obligation that she should go and serve her parents. Abdurrahman says that her mother-in-law has a lot of gold and she wants to give zakat to her son. This is not permissible. She can only give zakat to her son if her son has debts, because paying off the debts of the father or of the son, the parents of or of the offspring, from zakat is permissible, as some scholars say, because providing is mandatory, but paying off zakat is not providing for them. This is an extra, providing for them the food, the medication, the shelter, the clothing, etc. This is mandatory. But to pay off zakat, that their loans that they have incurred and are unable to pay off, this is permissible to give from zakat. Muddathir says, is it allowed to make dua in ruku' after saying Subhan Rabbi al-Azim? It's an issue of dispute. Some scholars, like Sheikh bin Baz, say that it is permissible. These are some of the locations of making dua. And the most authentic opinion is that it is not a place of dua in the sense of an open dua. When you are in ruku', you say, oh Allah, pay off my debts, get my children married, etc., or heal our sick. No, this is not permissible. But the general dua that is taught to us by the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Allahumma laka raka'tu bika amantu laka aslamt, etc. These things, the general invocations, this is permissible. And Aziza says, my biochemistry professor is a female, and she's asked to give a presentation in a mixed class. So is it permissible for her to go in front of the mixed class, boys and girls, and give a presentation? I personally believe that girls should not go and attend a mixed school. The cons are far greater than the pros. There's so much harm, there's so much fitna, there's so much corruption, and they should not allow this to happen. So personally, I would say no, it is not permissible for you to go in front of the boys, even if you're wearing hijab, and give your presentation, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time. في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech.